Okay, gang. New chapter, new lesson, new topic. So, if you would be so kind, please, is to turn to chapter 10, lesson 1, page 561. This is in your volume 2 GoMath book. So, volume 2. And there at the top you can see I can tell and write time to the nearest minute by using analog and digital clocks to write one way you can read the time. So let's jump right in and see what we got here. Groundhog Day is February the 2nd. People say that if a groundhog can see its shadow on that morning, winter will last another 6 weeks. The clock shows the time when the groundhog saw its shadow. What time was it? So we need to underline the question here. What time is it? And where would you look to find the time? Well, it's going to be pretty simple. You know where we're going to look? We're going to look at the picture of the clock. That's going to be this right here. That thing down there. So let's see what we can do here. Look at the time on this clock face. What does the hour hand tell you? Well, let's get zoomed in here. Right into here. And you know what, we'll zoom in we're going to go a little bit. We're going to really get in here. So the hour hand, that would be the shorter of the two hands. So what does the hour hand tell us? Well, first of all, if we extend it out from here and then here. All right, so let's look at this first. What we can see is that this hour hand right here, it is after the 7, but before the 8. All right, so it's between. All right, so what does the hour hand tell you? It says that the hour is between 7 and 8 o'clock. All right, so it has to be 7. It's not 8 yet because it's not there. What does the minute hand tell you? Well, if I come through here and I kind of complete this pattern, all right, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and then 40. Okay, what does the minute hand tell us? Well, let's take a look here and see what we can come up with. All right, so our minute hand is right here. Well, here is at the 30, so 7:30, and that goes right on to that 7. Okay, so the minute hand tells us it is after 7:30 we could also say that the minute hand is on the 7. And what that means is we're just going to be counting by, when we count by fives, let me go ahead and get some of this taken care of here. If that minute hand right here is on the 7 and we're counting by fives, well, that's just going to be 7. 7 times 5. And that's equal to 35. All right. So let's zoom this out here so we can see everything again and then see if we can't finish this problem out. In 1 minute, the hand moves from one mark to the next on the clock. Okay. It takes 5 minutes for the minute hand to move from one number to the next on the clock. You can count on by the fives to tell the time until we get to the 12. So right up here, the 12, that's the 0. The 1 is give us 5. The 2 gives us 10. The 3, 15. The 4 is 20. The 5 is 25. The 6 is 30. And the 7 is 35. So the groundhog saw its shadow at 7:35. And there's a few ways that we can write this. Okay, we can say 7:35. We can also write this out and say 7:35. Or we can say 35 minutes after, well, what hour was that? Well, it was 7, so 35 minutes after 7. Any of those answers right there gives you the 7:35. Okay, let's move along and see what we have here. All right. Time to the minute. So we're going to count by fives and then ones to help us out. Okay, so look at the time on this clock face. What does the hour hand tell us? Okay, so here is the hour hand right here. Let's really get zoomed in so we can see what we got here. All right, here's our hour hand. So let's go ahead and go here and right there. Okay, so that hour hand is between the 1 and the 2. So what does the hour hand tell us? And that is the time, or the hour, is between 1 and 2 o'clock. All right, and it has to be 1 because it's not yet to the 2. So it's, if it's after the 1 but before the 2, then the hour is 1. So we know we're at least looking at, for a time, 1 something. All right. What does the minute hand tell us? Let's go back and take a look here. The minute hand right here is between the 4 and the 5. So, neat little trick we can do here. Again, and I'm going to tell you, if you know your basic facts for multiplying by 5, this becomes very, very simple. Okay? The minute hand is after the 4. So we know that that's going to be 4, and then each interval in between is 5. Okay? So it's at least going to be 20. Okay? We are looking at a time of at least 1:20. But then we're going to take a closer look here. So here we go 5, 10, 15, 20. But then we look in here and we're going to count by these ones. So here's 20, 21, 22, 23. All right. So we're going to go counting by 5s, okay? 5, 10, 15, 20, and then 21, 22, 23. All right. So our time up here actually is 1:23. So what does the minute hand tell us? Let's go back and we'll go ahead and get this filled in. Okay. It is after 20 minutes. Or actually we'll say it is between. It is between the 5, or the 4 and the 5, which means between 20 and 30 minutes. Let's see if I can't back that out now and get this cleaned up for us. All right, so it's between the 4 and the 5, which means it's between, oh, that's actually 20 and 25 minutes. There we go. So what do we have for the time? Well, it is 1:23, or we can say 23 minutes after 1. Or we could write it out and say 1:23. Okay. So this method up here focused on finding the time after the hour. Now what we're going to do is come down here and we're going to find the time before the hour. Okay. So maybe it is after the 30 mark, the bottom of the hour. So let's see what we have right here. What time does, look at the watch, okay. What does the hour hand tell you? I'm going to zoom in again. So the hour hand right here. It is between the 2 and the 3. All right, so the hour is between 2 and 3 o'clock. All right, it's after the 2, not quite yet to the 3, so our hour is going to be 2 something. Uh-oh, wrong thing there. All right, so it's going to be 2 something. Don't know what that something is yet. What does the minute hand tell us?
You don't do these, do you?
The minute hand let's see what we got here. So here's our long minute hand right here. All right, it is between the 8 and the 9. All right, so what does the minute hand tell us? The minute is between the 8 and 9, which, how did we write that up here? Yeah, there we go. Which means between, let's see, 8 times 5 is 40, and 9 times 5 is 45. Let's get this cleaned up here just a little bit. And zoom out and see what we got. All right, so the minute hand's between the 8 and the 9, which means between 40 and 45. Now, we can go ahead and count through this, all right? And then we're going to kind of work backwards on this. And let me read this right here and see if this doesn't help. Okay, now count by 5s and 1s from 12 on the clock backwards to where the minute hand is pointing, right, the missing time. When a clock shows 31 or more minutes, and that's kind of important right here. Let's make sure we highlight this. When a clock shows 31 minutes or more minutes after the hour, you can read the time as a number of minutes before the next hour. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in here and clean up a little bit of this so that we have a better understanding. I'm going to go ahead and get the time first. Okay. So this minute hand is between the 8 and the 9. All right, so I'm counting 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41, 42, 43. Okay, so there's our time, 2:43. Now what they're saying right here, and this is just a mental math thing, so if you're like, okay, there's 60 minutes in an hour, all right, and we've gone 43 of them. How many more minutes will it take for us to get to the next hour? And that becomes 17. So how do we show that here? Well, we're going to count backwards, okay? 5, 10, 15, and then 16, 17. All right. So we would read that like this, okay? 17 minutes before 3. Or we could write it as 2:43. All right, a lot going on with that, okay? And we'll spend a little bit more time kind of reviewing and going over it. But for right now, what I'd like for you to do is to head over to the next page, and the show and share is there. And I want you to take a little bit of time to try to get those done. Unpause the video when you're ready, and we'll see how you did. All right, show and share. Here we go. How would you use counting and the minute hand to find the time shown on the clock? Write the time. Well, let's see. How would you use counting with the minute hand? Let's zoom in and take a closer look here. An even closer look here. This is how I would do it. I'm looking at 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so there's 20. And then 21, 22, 23, and 24. All right, so the time is 1:24. All right, we'll just put that right there. How did I do it? Well, I think essentially what I did was count by fives. Okay, I went 5, 10, 15, 20. Then count by ones. 21, 22, 23, and 24. I guess that's what they're wanting there. Okay, write the time and write one way you could read the time. Let's zoom in here again. Get a really good look here. So write the time. Well, the hour hand, okay, it is between the 2 and the 3. I mean, just barely, okay, but it is between the 2 and the 3. So I know that the time at least is going to be 2 something. All right. Then I'm going to count by fives. Okay. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Okay. Or I could have said, hey, it's after the 11. And 11 times 5 is 55. And then count one more right there to get to the 56. So 56 is one way that we can write it. The other way, so since the minute hand is on this side of the 6, that's what we call the bottom of the hour, approaching the top of the hour, I would write that as, let's see, 56. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, 60 minus 56. I would write that as 4 minutes before 3. In 4 minutes, it will be 3 o'clock. So 4 minutes before 3. Next one. Let's look at the time. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is look here at the hour. All right, it is between the 6 and the 7. All right, so it is after 6 o'clock, but not quite yet to the 7. I'm going to look at the fact that this minute hand is after the 3, but not quite yet to the 4. So 3 times 5, because I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 intervals, each at 5, that's 15. Then count the minutes in between here. 15, 16, 17. So 6, 17. Or rewriting that would be 17 minutes after 6. And then finally, and this is a good time to kind of take a look here and compare if you've not put these in yet or have not figured this out. I would go ahead and write these down. I don't think that it was really discussed in here, although I'm guessing probably your second grade teachers went over this. This is called an analog clock. Analog clock. It uses the hour and the minute hand. This right here is a digital clock. A digital clock. So this right here, this becomes really easy. Tell the time. Well, it's right there. All right. 10:45. And then write this as an indication of before or after. So it is after 30 minutes. All right, so we would say 15 minutes before 11. Now, there's also another way you can do this because, and we'll take a short little detour here as we're looking at this. Let's come back here and look at this clock, and let's divide this clock into quarters. All right, so we have 30 minutes, and then we're going to divide it again into quarters. So this is going to be 1/4. Okay, so 1/4 of an hour. This right here would be half. And then this right here would be 1/4 of an hour, and then a half. So if the time was 10:45, all right, and I will go ahead and we'll make a new clock face here. Let's see what we can do here. Let's change up the colors here. So it is 10:45. So the hour hand is probably going to look something like this. And the minute hand is going to look something like this. All right. We are 1/4 of an hour away from the top of the hour. So another fancy way, you might have heard your parents say this, is that it would be 1/4 till 11. And what that really means is a 1/4 hour. Well, what is a 1/4 hour? That's 15 minutes until 11 o'clock. And it just shortened up and we say it's 1/4 till 11. All right. This right here, that's kind of a fancy one. Okay? But here we are now, almost 30 minutes into this, and you can see that telling time, although it should be a relatively easy thing, there's a lot that goes on with it. So we want to make sure everybody is on the same page as we move forward. So for those of you that already know about telling time, thank you for your patience. I hope you learned something along the way. For those of you that struggle with telling time, don't worry. You will get better with practice. I know you will. And good luck with your assignment.